Welcome back on Guard Army. I have just gotten back to making videos after needing to take a little bit of time off to finish a project and also prepare for Orlando Regionals, which just happened this past weekend. I ended up going 6-3 with Future Box and barely missing day 2, but I did still make points, which is good. I definitely wish I made day 2 though, it would have been very cool. But speaking of Orlando Regionals and also EUIC before that, this is a deck that top-8'd both of those events. It was one that kind of came out of nowhere. I mean, because Ancient Box was more what was thought to be like the new Ancient deck, but Double Moon ended up making a huge, it just basically appeared out of nowhere at EUIC, and then also saw a lot of play at Orlando, and did very well there as well. This, instead of playing like the Koraidons and whatnot, it has the consistent Just Dark Energy package, with the Roaring Moon that does 70 plus 10 more for each Ancient card in your discard pile, and the Roaring Moon EX that can just knock out anything with Frenzied Gouging, or do 220 if there's a Stadium in play. So, I have made a couple of tweaks compared to the top 8 lists from EUIC and Orlando, the main differences being that I am playing an Iono over the Penny. I know that the Penny is like a way to get the Greninja off of board if you happen to start it against Control. I personally, I guess if you just start Greninja, you just kind of lose to Control. You can play the Penny over the Iono, but I like having some disruptive draw. But my tech for Control in this particular deck, rather than being potentially Erika's Invitationed or Mantined, I like to get the Greninja into my hand and then Lost Vacuum it away, so they literally can never stall it. That's at least my idea going into Control. I know that maybe it would be better to also play a Penny. Maybe play a Penny in addition to Iono or over the Iono, but I do like Lost Vacuum for being able to get rid of Greninja, pesky tools, and also League Headquarters, which is relevant against things like Arceus. But that's my idea of little tech inclusions here, is instead of Penny, I played Iono, and instead of third Trekking Shoes, I played Lost Vacuum. Both of the top 8 lists were very similar. Both of them played Penny over Iono and played 3 Shoes. The difference between those two top 8 lists was one of them played 2 Roaring Moons and 2 Super Rods, and one of them played 3 Roaring Moons and 1 Super Rod. I'm choosing to go with the 3 Roaring Moons and 1 Super Rod just because it is a higher Ancient card count, meaning you can scale up a little bit higher with Roaring Moon a little bit easier. So we've got 4 of the Vengeance Fletching Roaring Moons, and 3 of the Roaring Moon EXs, and then our engine of choice is Dudunsparce. This is a card that can literally clear itself off bench while drawing a straight up 3 cards. So you draw 3, and then you shuffle it back into your deck, and all attached cards. This can include energies if you want. You can attach an energy to this and then shuffle it back in to increase your deck size by 3 instead of by 2, which is nice. I definitely like having this here. It's something that literally can't be stalled because you just shuffle it back into your deck. The only way that this could be stalled is if someone plays Fluttermane and then gusts up your Dudunsparce, because then it's turning off the runaway draw ability, but that's the only way that they can do that. I love that this provides good draw, while also being able to shuffle itself back into the deck and leave only your attackers on board. Then we've got 3 of the 60 HP Dunsparce, not Dudunsparce. This one we are playing simply due to the free retreat. And then we have a Radiant Greninja to be able to discard an energy from our hand and draw 2 cards. This is the primary engine of our deck. It is going to be drawing a ton of cards throughout the game. Part of the reason I like the Iono is also a little bit of shuffle draw, because otherwise it's a little bit difficult to play against something that's actively trying to mill you. I like being able to build up a big hand and then put it back into the deck. Granted, you're not really ever going to be naturally decking out due to the Dunsparce being able to shuffle itself back in, so you'll always be, because you need to draw at least 1 card off of runaway draw, but then afterwards you're putting 2 back in. And if there's 2 there, you'll top deck 1 for turn, and then the next turn, and then you evolve Dudunsparce, shuffle it back in, draw the remaining 1 card, and then you're putting 2 back. So you can continually loop this. But I do like Iono for being able to kind of reset the hand and also disrupt our opponents so they might whiff a final knockout, especially considering we're playing Ancient Booster Energy Capsule, so it might be hard for them to actually hit those knockouts consistently. So we've got 4 Sada's Vitality. This will be the main supporter that will be getting our energy into play. We can choose 2 of our ancient Pokemon and attach a basic energy card to each of them. This is nice for being able to attach to 2 Baby Moons or 1 Baby Moon and 1 Big Moon. Being able to establish energy on board means that it's harder for our opponent to keep us from actually attacking, and being able to establish 2 attackers at the exact same time and also have Dark Patches to be able to get energy into play is super good. Then we've got 4 Explorer's Guidance. This is nice for getting cards into discard, especially our ancient cards, to boost up our Vengeance Fletching numbers. This can also discard Dark Energies and grab Dark Patch, so you can go discard an energy off Explorer's Guidance and then Dark Patch it to one of your Pokemon. I love that as a potential option here. We've got 1 boss as 1 supporter-based Gust. We also have Counter Catcher and Prime Catcher as Gusts, and we definitely like having the item-based Gusts more so, because we almost always want to be playing Explorer's Guidance or Sada, but having the 1-of boss is super nice as well, because it's not conditional at all. It's just another card that we can Gust with. Having 3 total Gusts, I think, is very important in this deck. We've got the 1 Iono, which obviously you could play a penny over. That is completely fine. I'm just personally liking the Iono. It's just a personal choice. And then we've got 4 Nest Ball for finding our basics throughout the game. Greninja, Dunsparce, Roaring Moon, and Roaring Moon. 2 Ultra Ball for being able to discard some cards from our hand, including the ancient Pokemon, ancient cards in general, and grab any of our Pokemon, particularly the Dudunsparce. 4 Dark Patch for being able to get more energy into play, establishing as many attackers as possible to make it where your opponent can't really disrupt you out of having attacks is super good. 4 Earthen Vessel. Earthen Vessel is basically the best card in the deck. It's just the card that gets you the most value throughout games. It's an ancient card that's going into your discard pile. It's an ancient card that can discard another ancient card from your hand. It's an ancient card that gets you energy from your deck. It's an ancient card that can discard an energy from your hand, get you energy from deck, and then you can go either Sada or Dark Patch and then attach. Like, Earthen Vessel's insane. This will always be a 4-of in this deck. 2 Trekking Shoes. Again, the top 8 lists, we're playing 3. I'm just playing 2 to make room for a Lost Vacuum. You could definitely play the top 8 lists. In fact, I would recommend playing the top 8 lists, as they have proven to be good, because they both played almost the exact same list and both top 8'd. So definitely worth considering that over this. I just like the Lost Vacuum because I can get rid of Greninja with Lost Vacuum, as well as removing stadiums. It's basically a 4th stadium bump, and a way to remove tools, which can remove Max Belt, which can be relevant. It can remove Hero's Cape, which can be relevant. Big Charm, Luxurious Cape, Heavy Baton. Not that Heavy Baton is super relevant when we can Frenzied Gouging them, and it won't proc because it's not damage. But I do like the Lost Vacuum. 1 Super Rod. Theoretically, I would like to have 2 in here, but I also don't want to cut down from 3 Roaring Moon EX. I feel like 3 is the right number to have here. 1 Counter Catcher, because normally in the game, we are going to be behind on prizes in the early game because we want to swing with Vengeance Fletching early on to put a little bit of damage into play, but it's not going to scale up to those bigger numbers until later, so we might get knocked out before we're able to actually knock something else. Which means then we get access to Counter Catcher, so we can pull up their most relevant threat and knock it out. Then we have Prime Catcher, which is another just unconditional Gust. This is our A-spec of choice. I love being able to pivot into Dudunsparce or Dunsparce and just either run away draw to shuffle it back into our deck, or just free retreat back into the attacker of our choice. Prime Catcher is absolutely insane. Having 4 Ancient Booster Energy Capsule is 4 more ancient cards in our deck that also make it harder for our opponent to actually knock out our attackers here. Putting our Baby Roaring Moon up to 200 health for a 1-prizer that can swing for 2-prize knockouts in the late game is insane. And then having a 2-prize basic at 290 HP that can swing for 220, also very insane. Ancient Booster Energy Capsule is nutty in this deck. Like, in the previous format, people didn't really run Ancient Booster Energy Capsule very frequently in their Roaring Moon decks, because they wanted to just go aggressively into KOs. This, having both the 1 prize and 2 prize knockouts, and just wanting to scale up with Ancient, gives the excuse to play 4 of these, and I feel like that's really good into this meta. Then we've got 2 Artizones. This helps us to loop our Dunsparces a little bit easier. It also finds our baby Roaring Moon for attacking. So literally a Stadium out into our main attacker for the deck is super nice. And the Temple of Sinnoh is mainly here to turn off Mist Energy, primarily against Lugia, but there's other decks that play Mist Energy. There are some Zards that play a Mist Energy. There's other decks that play Mist Energy as well. You could see that against Control with, like, Wigglytuff Control. Turning off stuff with Temple of Sinnoh and then being able to knock out the Wigglytuff with Frenzied Gouging is nice. There's plenty of other things that play, like, a 1 of Mist Energy. So this is definitely a relevant card to have here, I feel. And then we've got 9 Dark Energy. The 9 Dark Energy seems like the perfect number of Dark Energy to have for this deck. Lets us set up enough attackers throughout the game. 9 Dark feels great because we're naturally drawing into it, and we have enough energy to reliably pitch and also use all of them throughout the game with Sada and Dark Patch as well. I feel like this list is very good. Again, you could definitely cut the Lost Vacuum for 3rd Trekking Shoes and the Iono for Penny. You could cut down 1 Roaring Moon EX for 2nd Super Rod. There's definitely some flexibility in this list, and you do not need to take my exact list. But I have just been enjoying the Iono and the Lost Vacuum personally as, like, 2 little tech tricks to have in this deck. But I do want to hear your thoughts in the comments down below. Let me know what you think about this, whether I should be running Penny over Iono, whether I should be running 3rd Trekking Shoes over Lost Vacuum, and I would love to hear in the comments down below what other decks you want me to cover for this format. I want to get through a couple more Temporal Forces lists before this format ends, and before I start jumping into Twilight Masquerade content, because I definitely want to start jumping into Twilight Masquerade content soon, but I feel like it's a little early for that. So let me know in the comments down below if there are any other lists that you would love to see a list for. I would love to help out with developing lists and whatnot. If you would like to talk about your own deck building and things that you want to kind of improve your lists and figure out what you want to run or get some advice on lists, feel free to pop into the Discord down below as well. We do have a community Discord down there, and I love to talk about Pokemon there and talk about deck building, as deck building is a hyperfixation of mine. Anyway, leave a like, subscribe. Hope you all have a great rest of your day, and I will catch you all later.